Okay, hi. I think we're on live now. Again, I'm Kim from Amnesty, and would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Trent Daley. I'm the Vice President of Integration and Program Development for the Alberta Muslim Public Affairs Council.
All right, well, thanks so much for chatting with us today. Can you tell me a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, no problem. AMPAC is an independent, not-for-profit organization, and we're dedicated to championing civic engagement and anti-racism efforts throughout the province of Alberta. And we do a lot of advocacy work, building community capacity and bridge building type initiatives, education, policy development, cultural sensitivity training. We've become like a strong voice for Albertan Muslims against Islamophobia and about the integration of our community.
Wow, that is a long list of initiatives that you're working on.
Good mouthful.
Yeah, no kidding. That's terrific. And so what is your role? You said you're VP, so what is your role in all this?
So I was appointed to the executive board in October. I'd been volunteering with AMPAC for 3 years. I launched a project in 2018 called Muslims of Alberta, and we've recently relaunched it as Muslims of Canada. So with these projects, we feature the voices of Muslim members of the community as a way to counter negative stereotypes about the Muslim community, about the perceptions and the boxing of identities in regards to who a Muslim person is envisioned as. And part of that is showing the beautiful diversity within the Muslim community, the cultures, the racial groups, and voices within that community, and all the roles that they take on. And whether it's somebody who wears an Oilers jersey every day, or someone that's actively fighting against the tide of COVID right now in the hospital. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is just allowing people to have a platform to show their interests and the incredible variation and diversity and beauty and positivity within this community as a counter project, but also a very positive project.
Wow, thank you. That sounds amazing. You mentioned that you were a volunteer for a few years and now you're on the board. Is that are you a staff member now?
No, it's a voluntary board.
It's a voluntary board? Okay.
The work I do is purely volunteer.
Okay.
I did some public policy and communication stuff for AMPAC in the past, and now I sit on the executive board, so I'm a voting board member. We do have one paid staff. We have an executive director.
Oh, wow. Just one paid staff. Okay.
Just one.
Okay. How did you first get involved?
I started volunteering at the annual fundraiser that AMPAC does, where they showcase the work they do and have speakers. I was just a drop-in volunteer then, and then I was onboarded into the organization because I really believed in the work that AMPAC does, and I helped out where I could, and then I started getting more involved and coming up with my own projects.
Okay. Here's a little question for you. Who do you look up to?
Who do I look up to? That's a tough one.
Or who motivates you? I mean,
there's a lot of amazing people to pick from. Really have to say that I really admire my dear friend Mustafa Farouk. He's the CEO and the executive director for the National Council for Canadian Muslims. He's a very dear friend of mine, and the passion that he puts into his work, I hope that I can just put an ounce of that into mine. A lot of shared goals between our organizations, and he used to be on AMPAC, so I was able to learn from him for a period of time. And with civic engagement and civil rights, it's very burdensome. It's very tiring. But the work never stops, and we have to take passion and pride in our work while also recognizing the deficits and any gaps in service. So it's a continual learning process, and I'm happy to be a part of that and experience it from more learned individuals than myself.
Thank you. Didn't mean to throw anything out of left field at you. One thing I was wondering about, I've seen on the news and social media that some of the mosques in the city, or all of the mosques in the city, are be able to publicly broadcast the call to prayer right now. And personally, I thought it was really moving. It's just the thought of, especially somebody who maybe is an immigrant and grew up in a country where the call to prayer was part of their daily life. I just thought how comforting that must feel in these scary times. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's honestly, it's a huge accomplishment to be able to have the city recognize how important it is to the Muslim community. You know, the azan is used for every prayer of the day, the call to prayer, for each of the 5 prayers in the Muslim tradition. And Friday is a very important day. It's called Jummah, where it's a very large congregation typically. And we can't have that now. So having the call to prayer broadcasted when we break the fast, even though we're not going to the mosque physically, it's a good reminder that the community is still strong and that there's so much hope. And, you know, the azan is such a big part of the faith, you know, for funeral traditions. When your child is born, it's typically the first thing a child hears is the father saying the azan, or the parent saying the azan into the child's ear. So, you know, the azan is a huge, huge thing. And many, as you said, many newcomers or immigrants grew up in countries where the azan would be played by every masjid in the city. And now we have it so that masjids that have the capacity can do so here in Edmonton. And it's a very welcoming thing. I think it's moving past tolerance into the realm of acceptance.
I love to hear that. That's amazing. I think I just have one more question for you, just to, in the interest of keeping us sort of short. What, out of all this work that you guys are doing, is there one area that you're most passionate about? Is there something that is sort of your really close to your heart?
Well, for me, like the Muslims of Alberta and now Muslims of Canada project is a very, very personal project to me, because for me, it's a way to ensure that I'm getting the narrative flipped. You know, oftentimes media narratives surrounding Muslims, like, they're overwhelmingly negative. It's changing bit by bit, but there's a very clear over-reporting and disproportionate amount of negativity. So this way, it allows me to control the narrative and show stories that I believe need to be heard. It allows me to use my platform and my position to amplify the voices of those who I think need to be heard. The people like Black, Indigenous people of color within the Muslim community, people that, you know, they are doing so much incredible work, so much positive, beautiful things. And this is a chance for me to highlight that and say, look, these are all part of our Edmonton community, and it's beautiful here. And all of them are living in harmony, and it's just so beautiful. And for me, it's a moral imperative, because my 2 children are biracial Muslim boys, and both of them, eventually we're going to have tough conversations, because my experience as a white man is very different than what my children will experience, just because of the skin tone that they have, as opposed to myself. And unfortunately, these conversations are necessary in the world today. But, you know, the goal of the work we do is so that our organization's purpose will no longer need to be filled. You know, a lot of the anti-racism work, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have any anti-racism organizations, because there wouldn't be any racism.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I definitely feel that personally too. You know, that's the same with Amnesty International. Obviously, ultimately, we wish that we didn't have any work to do. Yeah.
But, you know, there's still beautiful ways that even if we achieve some of our goals, we can still build community capacity and target other ways. Like, it's not just about Islamophobia, it's also supporting our local halal businesses, it's supporting beautiful film festivals like the Oscars Film Festival. It's about celebrating that there's hybridized identities everywhere, that you can be part of the Ukrainian and Canadian community. Likewise, you can be part of the Canadian Muslim community. Right. There's so many beautiful identities to which we belong that we should be celebrating, because multiculturalism makes Canada strong, and that's what built this country. And we have to recognize that we're on treaty land, and that we're all working towards living in harmony.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for talking with me. I really look forward to working with you in the future and keeping in touch. I'm just going to end
Of
my
course.
recording. Is there anything you wanted to close off with before I end the recording?
I just wanted to thank Amnesty Edmonton for having a moment to share with me, and I very much look forward to supporting each other at events once COVID has passed.
Thank you.